Hello, my name is Eisen. This video is going to be, for one, a gear review, kind of ish, like an account review of my Lara on when I specifically Destiny lived, what converted I am, and then I'm going to go over a calling video and discussing what I did, why I did it, how low you can be, and also the ease of it coming forward, and also this calling lib actually becoming more difficult in about half a year, but we'll go into that later. Let me just go through the gear really quickly. For one, the FAMs are 120, 40, 40, 40. The crit rate is nice, but it's not like 6 magic or anything like that. CP is 652 mil. You can see the inners and stuff like that here. It's not fully optimized, but gets the job done. I'm going to go through my gear, and then I'll put my thoughts on it afterwards. Fake 6. 21 ET, 22 double prime, 23 slime, real 6, dreamy belt, spellbook, Zerk, eye patch, CFE, source, Sweetwater pendant, Destiny 1, Genesis 1 was the exact same, triple prime, same thing, it's always been 1280, 36, 17 minus 2, I didn't bother with 20 minus 2 because it wasn't going to be the difference. 39, 3 line, 3 line, 3 line, double crit ints, 3 line, TC22 badge. Biggest thing I want to mention here is, if I'm being 100% honest, this gear is actually pretty low standards for most people that are actually clearing Destiny calling right now. Most of them are actually much higher spec than I am, and they're actually only shooting lower because they've already done the boss prior. But regardless, I think honestly, if you're trying to push your character farther, which honestly I wasn't, I was just trying to Destiny live, which I knew I could. I had the gear, I just needed the reps. If you honestly did your Eternals to 23, like these 4 to 23, which I think are relatively easy, and then just have like a 25 in these 3 slots, your converted is probably pretty similar to me, at least with putting in full externals in. And to be clear, I cleared at 112, I want to say 95x, something like that. So if you're near that, maybe like a couple hundred under, like 112.7, you can probably do the same strat I did. If you're well within the 113s, you can do either strat I'll explain, and then 114 plus. I think you just kind of need the reps, and you can kind of do whatever you want from there. And I'll show my Legion as well, but shouldn't be that big of a deal. 9775. This I just haven't upgraded yet because I'm actually debating swapping him out. And then this, we'll get level 60 soon, but I haven't done H-Baldrix long enough to really get this up. Same with X-Calling and X-Av. Okay, and then I might as well show this as well, like everything about my character, to get you guys a good eye on stuff. Things not maxed. I really have not been touching this character for a long time, but I just happen to have the reps on the game. 8, 6, 5. Again, like very, very mid. Like, if you get to 293 plus, you can achieve a higher hexa than I can with just dedication to the game. And then alongside that, if you wait to soul hecatate, it drops even farther, so you don't actually need my converted, and you can still use this as a guide to push your content. Anywho, let me go into this copyrighted video and make sure it's muted, and I can show it to you guys. Move this over here. Okay, let me full screen this. I'm just going to go through the video relatively quickly. Okay. First thing I want to mention is my buffs. I went in with practice mode. You can decide to do the real run if you want the achievement or practice mode. I personally don't care about the achievement. I also do like that the fact that you don't have to use buffs, and the buffs are immediate. So as soon as you enter practice mode, every single buff is on, and you just enter. And this is actually just purely faster than entering, pressing your sequence, and going in. It just is, period. So as I do this, what I'm doing here, I'm gonna assume you're a relative novice, I'm going to understand that you know what gauge is. So I'm just going to go at this from a solo perspective. I am standing directly under Tiger's chin because he can do one of two things if you are directly under his chin. He will either FMA or he will dash. And the dash in specifically this patch that I'm doing it, which is March 24th, it will always dash to the side that it's looking. It used to do this fake dash, which was really, really ass, but doesn't do it anymore. But you have to be specifically under the chin. If you're slightly to the right, it might drag, it might do the NATO, it can do anything, just as a heads up. So here, does FMA, I just do a flash jump, and then you see I'm right under it, he goes for a dash, and because he's in the dash animation, I know he's gonna dash right, so I TP up to land on this coil, and how I've always treated this is, or also taught it, is treat it like it's Pokemon. There's only a select amount of moves that Tiger can do here, and Tiger just fully dashed to the right. If you are not in a place to hit him with a tornado, he's not going to move. He's going to try to do something to get closer to you, and what's his option that he can do is TP. TP activates coil, and because of that, I just up jump blink up to make sure I can't get hit. He TPs, activates the coil, which you can see on the top left, and it makes it easy for him to spawn here. Here, I just wait for him to attack again, go left, set up for the burst. Trying to set up burst because I want to go for 16 burst. I have -2, so it's a lot easier to get that 16 burst, but keep that in mind. I'm trying to get 16 burst off. Bind here, burst. You can time fatal a little better than me here, but keep in mind that I would recommend to time fatal outside of the practice mode. So maybe hit 3 seconds and then practice mode, go into the real. Actually, scratch that. You go in and you attack Tiger, and as soon as you attack Tiger, you go off that. Regard the first thing I just said. Here, what I'm planning to do is I want him to keep him in the corner, and there's two things he can do. He can either dash out to like towards the middle or dash in the corner and stay there. Here, I want to say that he dashed outwards, but what I did here that I didn't have to worry about is because he already went to the corner, I just waited for him to come top mid and I just repeated the cycle for the 60s. I'm also paying attention to gauge here. Gauge isn't as big of a deal, but keep an eye on it. If you get wombo comboed, you don't want your Tiger to be super duper high. Here, I am E-forming to get damage off, and I'm just whacking, whacking, whacking. I don't really care what hits me here. I'm just here to whack, whack, get hit, get hit. And as you can see, I'm trying to get him towards the corner for the coils. Here, if he dashes here, it's not that big of a deal, because if he dashes, I can bring him back. It's not that big of a deal. A big thing you want to worry about is recovery on specifically Tiger here. You don't want it to dash at the very, very end, but I got lucky and didn't have to worry about it. He dashes to the corner. Even if he dashed to the right, it didn't matter because the coil was already up. If he dashes early, you just have to drag him back into a corner or set up another coil. You have to do one or the other. Here you can see that I'm just trying to get to each coil as fast as possible. Lara's burst is ridiculously fast. You don't got to worry about it. Bind early so it doesn't dash to the corner because you can cancel the dash with a bind. Burst here and I burst out. Note, you want to try to 6 burst these bosses, as in you want to try to burst 6 burst calling. What I ended up doing is I actually ended up 5 bursting and sacking an Ascent. The reason why I did that is because I wanted better P3 pacing, and also in terms of damage, my Ascent in P3 actually does less than my 2-minute burst in Roar, just in Roar. So by product, I actually gain more damage in comparison to putting it in P3 if it gets me the extra burst, which it does. Big thing to note here is that if you come in with 60s on the nose or you start in here during burst, it's scary because you are potentially lining yourself up for your 60s to get eaten by either the test, the FMA, or you have to stall for it and you lose time that way. So if you start Bird or Tiger, you're going to lose damage by default. Do I recommend the dog? I'll be honest, if you're strong, yeah. If you're weaker, you really should do Tiger. And Bird is just nice because you can deal with the life count. But at the end of the day, you use this video as a guide and go from there. Again, if you're like 116, 117, and it's like Hakate, do whatever the hell you want. You just need the reps at that point. Here, all I'm doing is I'm just bursting, traveling off cooldown, not really caring too much, also keeping in mind the gauge. I don't think a lot is happening here that is worthy of note. The biggest thing I want to mention here is how to play these flies. What I like doing here is, in my opinion, I think Lara's burst is disgustingly fast and you don't lose too much damage. You can wait for the fly here, which I think is totally fine, and honestly it's probably optimal to do here. I ended up just doing this because in terms of pacing and meeting like threshold is what I call it, me 2 bursting here doesn't change if I get like a really clean burst or like a really bad burst. I just need a consistent burst, and me binding it, doing my roar 6, 2 burst and just chipping will always net me the same results. If you need more time, you can wait for the fly, Jenny, chip, bind, burst. You can do that, but I didn't have to do that here. That's why I'm doing this here. I've met a threshold, I know what my threshold is, so I'm just bursting to meet it. That was kind of weird, that little white screen thing, but that's just to explain what I'm doing. I'm just going to go through this video here because it's just the same chipping and stuff like that. The same ideas, the ideologies, as I'm studying over my words. So here's what I was talking about, the 60s, right? I barely get the big stretch off. It is an instantaneous amount of damage. That's good. What you can do actually, just a tiny tip, is you see my C key, the mountain ridge, you can actually move it to where you want it to be. So as you can see, I kind of like replaced it there. So as you can see, I'm trying to move over here to the top left. If you hold the down arrow and then press your mountain ridge, you actually spawn them back. You see how my mountain ridge came back? I held the down arrow and then I pressed mountain ridge. So the mountain ridge can come back now. Here, I'm chipping. Doing the same thing, and then when burst comes up, I do the exact same thing again. I'm just like, I don't really care. I just want to save time, so I'm just going to bind you, burst. Here, I was a little bit greedy, because I was like, oh, maybe I can get away with not using origin. Ended up costing me a bit of time, but again, doesn't matter too much. If you want to get more time, though, obviously, you can learn from this mistake. Here, Dog has gotten so Mickey Mouse easy. In terms of consistency, Dog is actually the easiest boss to get your damage off and not worry about a lot of things. The only thing you gotta worry about is this guy dashing and like maybe chipping you out and worrying about gauge. This boss does not do anything that's unreactable anymore. You can react to a lot of this stuff. The only thing is that weird ass dash thing. But other than that, I think this is a very reasonable phase now, because of the delay of that swipe and the delay of the breath cloud. What I'm pretty much doing here is I'm just chipping it and trying to make sure to prevent the dash. You can prevent the dash by just attacking in the direction that he's looking. I'm just going to go through this here. Again, keep an eye on the gauge, check the swipe. I just stand under him personally. I think there's no reason to be on the side of him unless he's dashed to a corner and you don't want to play on the activated veins. I think that's totally valid, because I don't like playing on the activated veins either. I just like playing on the side that's safe. When FMA happens, because you are alone specifically, you can do whatever the hell you want in my opinion. I like doing this thing of a flash jump dash because you will never get hit here in a million years. So I just do it because there's also not a lot of downtime. And anytime I get close here, I just reactivate my summons because why the hell not? And I just repeat that, burst off cooldown. Recommendation is you bind and then you can Jenny after the bind is over, because something's going to hit you here. The only thing that can hit you is these activated veins here. And if you're aware of that, you're fine. Try not to get hit by this breath attack here because you do lose FD and you do gain damage hit. For min cut runs, you don't want to get hit by this, but again, if you're trying to meet thresholds, this usually doesn't do anything bad unless it's on burst or on your 60s, but that's only for super duper min cut runs. Alright, I'm going to keep going through here, test again. I just do a flash jump dash, that's all I do. What's coming up here is the difference, I would say, compared to my runs and a lot of other runs that came before it in KMS and also runs that I recommended to people. Sorry, I had a cough there, so I muted a little bit. What I ended up doing here is I ended up ascenting, as I will show in the video here. So as you can see, my 3 ascents here are going to drop to 2 after this. Now, an obvious question is, why the hell did you ascent here? I explained it in the video, but I'm going to do this in a timestamp. For one, I believe that this burst is better utilized in P3 with the multi-hitting, because Lara's multi-hitting is very, very good, and that I actually needed the extra burst in the phase for a lower spec run. In my opinion, I think towards like the mid 113, high 113s, low 114s, you can get away with the 6 burst and then clearing. I think on a lower spec run where I was in this low buff run, I needed to 5 burst this to actually get out on pace in P3 specifically. It just felt like I was always a burst off, and although it on the 114 spec I could cut a burst there, it felt like I could not do it on this run. So I was like, screw it, let me ascent here and get the extra burst in P3. So that's why I did that. In my opinion, again, you can do you. This video looked like almost interrupted. We're good. You can do you. I think you can either do the 6 burst or the 5 burst strat. In my opinion, I really do like this 5 burst strat. Could be biased, but it is what it is. I wouldn't recommend using more ascents than like 1, because you start to lose the value. The reason why I did 1 specifically is because the value of 1 ascent versus 1 2-minute burst is actually very favored into the 2-minute burst. But if you start using 2 or 3, you go into territories that I'm unknown about. You can try it, please experiment with things, but it becomes an unknown territory where I don't believe it's going to give you the damage that you need. That's all. So, burst here, come out. A big value that actually comes out of bursting on here, as in on cooldown and in P2, is you actually time yourself very well for your 60s and your 2-minute to be up for the test, especially if you're running -2 in my opinion, because the cooldowns, and even with no skill CD, it will line up to where your burst is going to be on an FMA, and if you can line up a fly, if you line up a fly to land on you or a TP to land on you, and a test happens, you are getting a 60 or a 2-minute burst off. And that's very, very useful. Here I'm just timing because it's a minute after your load in. So if you look here, I'm looking at the time. Time is 31, so I'm keeping in my head that at 31 of the next minute there's a test. So here I'm just setting up a burst off cooldown. Again, off cooldown, I'm trying to get the 16 burst. I vine coil here because as you can see, my Ergonova is off CD. Because of the dog, I was aware of that, so I just pressed it there. And I will use Ergonova on the next burst. Here, there are different things that Laras do. Some people play on this bottom area because it is traditionally safer, because there's not as many activated... I'm kind of blanking on these, but pretty much these that activate on where... when you stand on them, there's less of them down here than there is on this middle plat, but I like playing on these 2 middle plats because the uptime is better. So here I'm placing 3 summons, and when I see the TP, I'm just going to flash jump over. And then here what I'm doing is I'm just dashing, attacking, and if scroll happens, or if an attack happens, I dash away and dash back in. Here I summon back, dash away, dash back in. Big things to note is these spikes. That's the word, it is spikes. These spikes are very, very, very important to get a hand of. The reason why is because if you get stunned by these, which I am not getting stunned by these now because I've learned my goddamn lesson, it can lead to bad problems. So here, if I flash jump here and I don't hug this left side, and I'm not aware of the instant scroll because I'm aware of this happening, I could just get CC'd by that spike, hit by the scroll, bam. Just lost a whole bunch of willpower. But I was aware that this is a possibility. Again, being aware of what calling can do. Certain things have cooldowns. I might write cooldowns in the description, but to be honest, it's all a timing thing. If she scrolls once, she won't scroll again in the next 5 seconds, 10 seconds. that kind of thing. Keep it in your head. At this point, it's just the rhythm that I built up over time. So here, again, dashing, hitting, hitting, hitting. I see the fly. Here, I just come back because my fountain is over here on the right side, so I just want to hug next to it so I can heal whenever I need to. Here, I'm just hitting, hitting, hitting. Again, I'm dashing to the corner to avoid the spike. Dash back, dash in, hit, 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 hit. And then I'm just repeating this. You see how this test comes up? During test, she will not fly. She might fly a little before the test or do an attack barely before it, and then it goes into test. But as soon as test happens, and if she is staying still, she is not flying during the test. If she is not flying slightly before it, and she is here, she will not move. She will move after the test, if anything. Just a heads up. So here is a perfect time to pop your 60s or whatever you need. Here, I think I barely get my 60 off, so I'm not going to really hit anything, but it's the thought that counts. Here, I'd be personally aware of an attack. There it is. Double attack here. The only thing that she can do is scroll. Why do I know that? Is because she is not doing any of these attacks again. She's not doing that attack back to back. She's not doing that attack back to back. Process of elimination, scroll. If she did do anything, she could have TP'd as well, which she did. Here, also be aware of fly. Fly is, I want to believe, 17 seconds after the first fly, or like after the first fly animation. So that's only a rough estimate. So 59, 42-ish would be the next fly that she'd be able to do off cooldown. I personally wouldn't do the 17-second thing. I'd do it closer to 15. So let me check this again. So like 41-ish, 42-ish. So like here, 42, 41. I'm expecting a fly within like the next second or two. Bang. 39, 40-ish. So like 22, 23. Again, I think 15 is totally fine. Here, as you can see, the test is happening. I am greeting the hell out of this, which I think everyone should. The reason why I just popped the worry off cooldown is because I'm just like, I just want as much time as possible to play catch up with. This was the second time I did this 5 burst with the Ascent, so this is only the second time I ever did it in a run, so I wasn't too sure on the pacing. But if you have a -2, the pacing is very, very easy. It's not hard. I did a lot of catching up in this run, and I was still able to clear. The Origin and P1 Bird, which was a fuck up. The P2 Dog taking forever to get out. It was good. But again, this whole dash back, dash forth thing, it looks, in my opinion, it looks easy. Those veins are a motherfucker. Sorry, not those veins. These spikes are a motherfucker. You know what I mean. The CC chain that you can get hit by is so, so bad. But I believe the uptime is super duper worth. Here I'm just hitting back and forth. Again, just trying to knock stuff off CD. 60s happening here, popping 60s. Again, what I mentioned about the timers. You're lining yourself up for success. Alright, I'm just going to skip through this because I don't want this video to be too long like the rest of my videos. Again, I'm just repeating the exact same stuff. Again, 17-second fly timer. Bursting here. Here, I'll be honest, I just bound off of the fact of, hey, I just don't want this guy to fly. So I'm just going to bind now and burst. And also to just off my cooldowns off. So I was already binding with intention. It just happened that FMA happened, so it just lined up that way. I didn't see it and then bind. It just happened to line up at the same time. So, bursted. Timer that I think you want to get in here is for the 6 burst on the 14-minute burst. Or like, yeah, on the 14-minute burst you kill. In this run, I am killing before the 14-minute burst that you would be doing on the 6 burst run because I'm cutting the burst off in P1. Again, the whole dash thing here. So although I'm relatively behind in terms of time left, I catch up with -2 and I still get a 16 burst off in the run. Biggest thing I want to talk about is the P3 double hit. This is where the boss becomes exceptionally harder in a patch that's coming out in 6 months. If you guys are unaware what's happening in Tespia, they have announced a new calling change where you have to be in the peril that you're hitting. What I mean by that is if you are in dog, you can only hit dog. Ascents, you can still hit everything, but if you are in dog, you can only hit dog. You cannot multi-hit this boss anymore. You can multi-hit calling if you're in it, of course. That is it. You cannot hit dog and bird at the same time. You can't hit dog and tiger at the same time. It is a much harder boss for the multi-hit classes. Not much harder, especially because this is not getting knocked down by Hakate. But the number is going up. If you are at Hakate and let's say it's like 108, 110 for Lara, I don't know what it's going to be. Don't take that for a grain of salt. It's gonna be higher because this is a multi-target class that abuses the hell out of this phase right now, but will not in the future. Just as a heads up, again, this is in half a year. You have plenty of time. I just need to mention that though. I want to talk about this double hit spot. I really want to talk about this double hit spot. People do not believe you can double hit dog and bird with Sprnkle. You absolutely can. The caveat is it is a tight goddamn hitbox. What you have to do is you have to line your character with the left of this chain. Do you see my mouse? You need your character to line with the center of your character. You want to line with this, with the left of this chain. I am moving my mouse around, moving it like crazy, right? Moving it like cray. As you can see, I'm setting up my summons and I am lining myself up under here. And I am double hitting. How do I check this, by the way? You can do this too, by the way. And if you're like, oh, this is too sweaty, you know what's sweaty? Trying to kill hard calling. You might as well take the extra step, in my opinion, goddammit. You might as well take the extra step. So, as you can see here, what I'm checking is total attack count. This number will go up by a multiple of a specific amount. You want that multiple to go up 2x or 3x higher depending on what you're hitting. Essence Sprnkle hits a target 4 times, so I am looking for specifically 8. As you can see, I'm going to go back because I probably just saw it once and then immediately closed it. 40, 48, 56. It's going up by a multiple of 8, which means my Essence Sprnkle is hitting 2 targets 4 times because it can only hit 1 target 4 times. So I already know by process of elimination it is hitting. And as you can see, my Eruption as well was also multi-hitting. Again, this is just a very easy way to check if your things are multi-hitting or not. Because my Eruption is also hitting in multiples of 12, but it only hits 6 at a time. It's things that you can look up, but it's a thing you'll get used to if you look at this PA often. So, my whole goal is to make sure I'm sprinkling this double hit as much as possible. My eruptions are substantially easier to hit. If you summon in the spot that you're double hitting, your summons will double hit. It is totally fine. You don't gotta worry about it. You just gotta worry about this double hit. And here I'm just trying to line it up. Again, line yourself up under this chain. You want your character to be in the middle, and you just want to spam that. Again, if you need to check your BA. I do it. In my opinion, I was never able to look this up. I manually learned this, and this is how I figured it out. See the hit count. You see how it's a hit count of 12? It's because it's hitting dog, bird, and calling, so it's a triple hit. Not a lot of classes can do triple hit, but Lara can. Again, when this goes away, it's going to be much harder in terms of converted. Not in terms of the boss. But here, just hitting. Another thing to mention is we have 2 things now. We have Mountain's Embrace over here on the 42nd key, and we have Eform. Both of those skills are very strong. Eform is now actionable, as in you can do whatever the hell you want in Eform. Mountain's Embrace is also substantially better because it is not a key down skill that you can't do anything in. You press the skill, you have a damage reduction and an overshield for a certain amount of time, and it is so strong at tanking. Lara becomes an actual tank, and it is incredibly hard for you to die with this on. I don't know if there's a lot of examples of this clip, but I think in P2, if you ever do it, it's pretty big. Again, just trying to off cooldown here. Your lance connection will double hit here. It's totally fine. And to talk about this more in this phase, what you really should do is you need to kill these Perils not at the exact time. You need these Perils to get down at different burst segments so that Kaling can take damage once it's at a certain unlock threshold. Because to put this in perspective, you do not want Kaling to be at 75% and then both bird and dog die at the same time, especially if you can't make up the 50% quickly. You do not want that to happen. You do not want all three of these guys to die at the same time and you need to do 75% of Kaling. You might as well get some chip on at the same time that you're hitting other Perils. So what I would recommend doing is killing bird first, then dog, and then tiger. When you should do this by, I think by the time you are Oriing on the 6-minute burst, so you have, that's your second to last Ori, bird should be dead and Kaling should be unlocked. Dog does not need to be dead. But you want to unlock this 75% threshold before your second to last Ori. If you do that, you should be on clear pace unless your dog is insanely high. We'll talk about that later. But this is all this fight is. It's just me lining up for the shot and then just doing this over and over and over again. That's it. Again, checking the hit count to make sure it's right. And it is. Alright. Not going to talk about things too much more. This is all I'm doing. I'm sitting on fountain. A big thing to be noted about is the only thing that can kill you in this phase is a double hit by Kaling and dog, especially if you're sitting on the fountain. The only thing that can kill you is Kaling and dog hitting you at the same time with chains and a Kaling attack. Nothing else will kill you. If they are separate attacks, you won't die. If they're the same attacks, you just gotta avoid both of them. It's totally chill. But this is all I'm doing. I'm not changing it up too much. Here I lost my fountain, I just replace it. It's all good. And I just beat the cycle. Hit, hit, hit. Here I'm just hitting, and then again I'm bursting off cooldown to gain more time. If you are a no CD hat, you want to just hope that your pace is quicker on the other phases, so like you don't have to chip as much in dog or bird or tiger. I just had to chip a lot, so I lost a lot of time there. And then P1 I screwed up, so I lost time there. Not as much, I just lost time on the origin. But here I'm just trying to burst off cooldown to make sure things are good. Again, I keep checking that BA. You really, really should. I think there's no reason to ego it. Here's an example of me taking a double hit, and I just insta-die for it. This is the only way you can die. Again, it's a double hit, 1 hit, 2 hit, dead. Lost my bird door. Here, I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. In my opinion, I don't need to explain it that much. Again, just bursting off cooldown, 60s off cooldown. As you can see, my bird and dog pace are actually not super duper close to each other, but fairly close to where bird will die at a significantly different time to dog, and it's going to be slightly a burst ahead of dying. So we just keep doing this, keep doing this. I have not used my 2 Ascents yet, so there's a lot of damage to be had there. And then the reason why Tiger is a little bit low is because of Ori. 2 minute again. I am aware that my Ascent does about 4.2%, so I'm looking to get it at about 8, and I want to get it before the 60 second because I can put my 60 second at a better target, which is Tiger. Now, why would I do it on Tiger and not specifically bird? Or not, sorry, not bird. Specifically dog. Or you could even say bird. The reason why is because of the damage that it's actually going to and why it's going there specifically. If it goes into bird, Ascent's already going to kill it. It's overkill. I could have put it on another thing that it would have gotten better overall value on, because it would have gone to a Peril that wouldn't have died to Ascent, and it would have been able to take the 60 second. The reason why I don't target dog specifically is because by the time dog dies, if Kaling is still above 50% HP, there's actually no necessary reason for dog to be dead there. The only reason when dog is still alive and it's really, really bad is if dog is still alive and Kaling is at the 50% HP threshold, because at that point Kaling's locked. But if you're not at that point, then dog being alive doesn't really matter. So I will opt to immediately go to Tiger, target Tiger, and then spend my 60s there. That is why I do that. So here I'm ascenting, and I know that it's very, very close, so my eruptions will probably kill it, maybe hit it. So here, bang, TP. Also, I didn't mention it, shift TP. One of the greatest feeling TPs of all time. It sucks that it's a 10-second cooldown. I don't care though, it's super duper strong. Targeted Tiger here. Mention of note, here is where your Sprnkle starts to hit. If you are near dog, your tiger, you will not be hitting Tiger. You are not able to double hit dog and Tiger. It's too big. Your summons will double hit though if you're here. Summons will double hit. Your Essence Sprnkle will not double hit dog and Tiger. Remember that. Summons will, Sprnkle won't. Your 2-minute will also hit. Dodging, but your 2-minute isn't going to matter too much because, in my opinion, dogs should be close to dead here at this point. So here I'm just double hitting. Another thing to note is when calling is out. Calling is out usually when her head is towards the end of this crack. If it's towards the end of this crack, she's likely to be out. If she is to the right of this crack, that's a good indicator. So as you can see, she's out. She was like slightly out there. If she's anywhere to the left of that, you're chill. Again, the main reason why you want to worry about that is because you take a lot more damage if calling is basically, if a Peril is attacking and you are not in the same Peril as calling and you take a hit outside of calling's Peril, you take more damage. Chains are one shot and it's not a fun time. Again, bursting off cooldown. I don't really care about dog HP because calling HP is at a high percentage and it does not matter as long as calling is not locked. Here I'm just bursting off cooldown Ori. And then I don't really care too much. At this point, I see that dog HP is totally fine, so I don't gotta worry about it. So I keep hitting Tiger. If you have to worry about dog HP, then worry about it. Again, you only have to worry about it if calling is at the lock mark. So I just keep doing that, and then I don't want to explain too much here. I'm just aware of more and more mechanics. And then I'm just doing 2-minute stuff off cooldown. I don't want to explain this because it's pretty much what we've been talking about earlier. Yup. Keeping it going. Alright. Big note here. Big note is calling FMA timers. In my opinion, even though you might be scared, Lara is not the class to do 25% in an Ori burst. Unless, in my opinion, you are an overspec piggy or using Mugong Soul. If you're using Mugong Soul, you are a better man than me because I have not gotten 22nd on that. Should you use it? It's up to debate. In my opinion, no, but it's up to you. If you have it, use it, bro. It's actually very strong. Especially if you can get all the Oris out. It's not bad. Especially in a boss like this. Alright, 58. What does that mean? In every 30-second interval, it will FMA. What should you do during these FMA timers? You should put calling into a corner. Or, if you're really cheeky, and let's say you do a different strat that isn't dog strat, whereas you can stay in dog and your gauge is safe, you can do is that you can put it in tiger or bird, and your FMA, your safe zone is either going to be directly on you in the middle or on the right, and it'll always stay like that. If you put her in bird, you have to go full left or full right. It's kind of like a full commit option. Just a heads up if you do want to do that. You can put calling on left and right, and then it has to be either in the middle or the opposite direction. It's like a better process of elimination and like where you gotta go. Here I'm just moving to the left and I was trying to grab a string. I ended up not grabbing it because it was so late. I just wasn't timing it correctly. Here I know the FMA is coming up soon because I saw that I broke it at about 59, so 29-ish is when it's happening. I did mess up one of these FMAs. It's the one after this one. So here on the right, good. Hit in here. Here I'm grabbing it because I'm aware that if I get Tiger and I hit string, I just insta lose. On Lara, you can up jump, flash jump, super OP. Here again, I'm just popping stuff off cooldown, and I'm playing to the right here because I know, because I'm close, I can just either flash him to the right, or by process of elimination, I just can run full left. Stay to a corner because if you are full middle, it's actually pretty easy to get baited and then go to the wrong side. Just a heads up. So here, I know I have to go full left. I ended up just getting hit by a claw. In my opinion, I should actually just up jump, flash jump here, and then use the sound cue of the claw to help me. And because of that, I get put in an RNG. What I mean by RNG is I get hit by this claw, and this claw can put me anywhere. It can put me in the same spot. It can put me in a bad spot. I can't do anything about it. It's not in my control once I get hit. And because of that, look where I go. I go back into the Tiger. I go farther than where I started. And at this point, in my opinion, but this is the first time I dealt with this, with the claw thing, you should blink here. There's no way you're getting here because double TP is not getting you here in time. You blink. You blink here and you just pray. You're not getting there in time. You just gotta blink and pray. Now, what I do here, don't do this at home. In my opinion, you should be more consistent than me. So, let's look at the FMA timer. So the FMA timer is 59 seconds, right? So 29 is the next FMA. Here's what I do. For one, you should keep in mind that FMA. If your FMA timer is, let's just say your FMA timer is at like 40, that's going into the 10-second mark, bind it early. You got 20 seconds to bind, so you might as well bind the last 20 seconds and just not worry about the FMA at all. Does that make sense? You might as well just do that. So, in similar light, this is what I did. I knew in my Ori burst, this guy's dead. Completely dead. I do about 15% on Ori burst, not accounting anything. I bind it early, and I see my Ori cooldown, and I'm like, okay. I know, based on the FMA timer, I will get my Ori up in time. So, let me just burst. This is something that I think most people should not do, but I did it in the moment. If you believe in yourself hard, you can do this. But like, this is not something you should do without like a good amount of practice. You should just wait for the FMA and then do it respectfully, especially on Lara. Most of your damage comes out in 20 seconds. Just saying. And you also can gain more time. If you have like 50 seconds, you definitely shouldn't be doing this. But I'm just going to show you what happened. I burst here. You see my Ori coming up? It's not up yet. Just keep an eye on my mouse. This is the Ori, the Z key. Not up yet, not up yet. It's up now. I insta-press this off cooldown. I was probably like a second away from dying and losing the run. Don't do that. Don't do that. But again, that's the overall run. I just wanted to do a video about this, talking about my thoughts on it. Again, biggest notes is in P1, in my opinion, you're either going to do a 6 burst strat, where you 2 bursts every phase, or you do a 5 burst strat with 1 Ascent, and the reason why you do that is to gain an extra burst in P3, which in my opinion I think is super duper worth, because if you're multi-hitting with your 2-minute burst and your summons, P2, you can either opt to play the mid-right platform that I did, which grants more uptime, or you can be on the bottom right, so just right below where I was actually fighting, and that place is relatively safer. The reason why is because there's less spikes there and there's more room to control, and the safe spot is still directly above you. You can just move there anytime you need to. P3, again, there is a specific lineup where you can double hit dog and bird to make that pacing substantially easier. Being able to double hit those two significantly dropped the clear Rex a ton. And again, in half a year, that's not going to be the case because calling is going to force you to basically fight the peril that you're currently in. And that makes the boss substantially harder for multi-hit because your multi-hitting doesn't exist anymore. And it is what it is. That's all I really have. And if you have any questions, you can just put them in the comments or just message me on Discord. I'll answer it. And yeah, that's all I really have. Have a good one. Maybe I'll upload a video later, but we'll see then. Have a good one regardless.